Hi everyone, Natu here again, back with another video. And in this video, we're going to do something a bit different because, I'm actually setting up a Canadian exempt market dealer. And what really is that, and what does that have to do with the other things that I talk about, really? Well, an exempt market dealer is essentially is a broker dealer, which is a company that is registered with something called the Securities Commission, and they are, basically they are the authorities that govern, the types of things that happen when new types of securities, quote unquote securities, are issued to the market. And I'm not going to, for those who don't know what a security is, if you're watching this video, then just stop the video and just go back to the other things, because you have to go and learn if you don't know what a security is. But this video is essentially showing you the step-by-step process in creating an investment bank from scratch. And an investment bank is really it's not really a real, honestly, an investment bank is not really a real thing. It is just a term that talks about, firms that are registered with their Securities Commission that basically issue new securities to the public on public markets and on private markets, and sell them on private markets. But if you were to reverse engineer how to do one, you first need to, register as a securities dealer. And so the way Raises.com does it is as a consultant by partnering with, foreign entities, and then they're the ones who do that. And we assist them in preparing for that process. But this is all future looking, but I'm just going to show you, all the steps right here, right on my phone. I'm just going to go right on my phone right now and show you the overall strategy in a step-by-step way in how to actually build one for yourself. And why am I giving away such information that is so valuable? Why am I actually telling you how to do this and giving this information away? Well, I mean, mainly for three reasons. One, it's pretty hard to do. So most people watching the video who are curious about how to do it, who aren't already doing it, it's extremely hard to do, but it can help you if you don't know how. Two, for those who, mainly most people won't follow it. They won't do it. Most people won't do it, and 99% of people will not do it, even though the instructions are right here. And three, really, it gives more, me just giving instructions, it benefits me, because there's so many different business models out there that I don't follow the scarcity mindset and sharing information where possible to do so. And so, let's go right into it. So essentially you see here on my phone, you should see my phone on the screen. Wiggle it so I can sync it at the right time. But yeah, essentially, the North Star is to basically your goal should be to increase the likelihood of actually getting registered, to do it with speed, and to do it and recognizing that money, just one of our principles at Raises.com is that cash flow is more important than profit. So if you were to invest into the business to get it started, then just do it. So bear in mind that, this is not, at the time of this recording of this video, this is not something that is done, it's in the process, and so don't go around telling people things that aren't true. But the way that we are in Canada, you have securities commissions that are governed by provinces, rather than in America, it being governed by the SEC, one authority for the entire nation. So because of that, we have these securities commissions for province in Ontario. There's the Ontario Securities Commission, and that means that you have to follow the Ontario Securities Commission rules. And then you just register in Ontario, and simply put, partner. You can register in multiple provinces, but it's easier just to register in Ontario because it's cheaper and faster, and then just partner with broker dealers later on, or become one later on, because there's an unnecessary amount of compliance overhead and burden that you have to follow if you just register everywhere at once. Because most of the money, honestly, is made through the proper JVs and partnerships. So don't waste your time doing things you don't need to do if you can be lean. And so that's another principle there. So yeah, keep the process as simple as possible, because as you know, if we go through this process, you're going to see that people try to make it very complicated. And as people try to make it complicated, you want to just simplify. And so there's actually a guide to filing a form, and there's a guide right there. And can I go there now? OSC.ca, there's a guide right here. But the guide, they actually switched the page, so this would need to be updated. But basically, there are things that you fill out, and I'll tell you everything you need to fill out. Number one, and all the requirements you need to have. So number one, a firm registering. They must enroll into the National Registration Database to get an NRD number as the first part of the registration process. And so basically allows you to fill out all your form filings electronically. It's kind of like an Edgar system in America or something like that. And so you register, and then there are 3 enrollment forms that you have to fill out. But before we even get into the nitty-gritty, one of the requirements, the quickest way to compliantly register and do this is, if you want to be the principal of an exempt market dealer, generally one of the quickest ways is that you have to take one securities exam, one of the 2 securities exams that you take. Either one is by IFSC, the Exempt Market Proficiency exam, or you take the Canadian Securities exam. So you take that, and after you take that, you have to become a dealing representative in an exempt market dealer for at least 1 year. So you do that, and after you do that, after you do that, then you also have to take another exam, a more high-level exam. Offers, like the one that I took, is the Officers, Directors, and Partners exam, OPD, by IFSC. And then after you do that, you get the experience. You get exposure to compliance, very important. And you also have to have a case, work with some lawyers to build a case for you to say that, I worked with compliance while I was at the registered broker-dealer. Then with that, then you should be able to roll here. And so keep that in mind first. But anyway, you fill in the 3 forms. Form 1 is called enrollment of form filler. Form 2 is enrollment of chief authorized firm representative. Form 3 is NRD holder. And so, basically you get your incorporation documents, business registration documents, pay them $500, a void check, and that's pretty much it. And then these are just forms that you fill out. Are these still? Yeah, they're all here. And just because, I might as well, I'll send it to all to you, because I'm going to make it easy for everyone to know how to do this. And the Ontario Securities Commission, all the securities commissions, people tend to demonize them, but at the end of the day, they're not your enemy. Just play the game right, play by the rules, and then you'll be rewarded. So here's a form 1, and I'll just skim by it. You just fill in this form, and then form 2, you just skim by this form, and form 3, whoops, I messed it up. You skim by this form. Just cancel. I'm just messing up. And the reason, do as much as you can before you go to the lawyer, because don't have the lawyer just make you pay $200K or $100K for nothing, because the lawyers are going to give you things that you don't need. Make sure, if you want to be smart, do as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and then when you're ready to go to a lawyer that you trust or that's been recommended to you by a consultant or something like that. Then you'll be able to actually do this in the most effective way without a lawyer forcing software and stuff on you that you don't even need. So fill in these 3 forms, get in the incorporation document. So that's part 1. Part 2, fill in some more forms. So you have to fill in 33109F6, and this is to seek the registration. And so this is the link, and you have to follow the registration requirements. And so these are all the things I mentioned. There are different ways of doing it that are more hard and take longer, and there are different ways of doing it. There are different types of exempt market dealers, not exempt market dealers. There are different types of firms, and the Ontario Securities Commission got a really nice new website, so I'm unable to see it. But basically, you have to, fill in. There are different types of firms. There's a mutual fund dealer, there's an exempt market dealer, there's an investment dealer, and there's a scholarship plan dealer. And so depending on what your goal is, choose it. Choose whichever one you want to be. The exempt market dealer is probably the biggest bang for your buck compared to the amount of leverage you'll be able to have. So fill that all in and look through all that. And so that's part 2. So I guess, there's several parts that, so this is just my Kanban board. So one other part 5, I know I'm going out of order, is the business plan, part 3. And so the business plan is very important, but keep it minimal. It should describe the activities, the business model, external service providers, target markets, industries, marketing plan, financial plan, startup costs, sources of revenue, and any exemptions if relevant. And so keep it simple, don't get too creative, but have it focused. And separate your non-registerable activities with your registerable activities, and your target market, types of products investors and offered, industries of focus. And I know that my workflow is getting a bit clustered, but you get the point. Your external service providers, your marketing plan, your financial plan, financial scene startup costs, expected sources of revenue, perspectives, exemptions, analysis, competitive advantage, market analysis, marketing strategy, key objectives, competition, SWOT analysis, business structure, management, ownership, MVO. And sorry, just ignore this at the bottom here. But yeah, like you want to give them a business plan. Don't waste too much of your time with things that aren't relevant. Focus on do exactly what they ask you to do and do it well without getting too creative. And having lawyers looking over this helps a lot, because when you start to submit all this stuff to the regulators, there's going to be some back and forth, presumably. And if there are any, they're going to look for red flags as well. And so make sure you work with a lawyer to make sure that it goes really nice, and work with a consultant or a lawyer that took got a lot of companies registered, because that increases the chances of you getting registered as quickly as possible. And so another thing is, just bank accounts and, bank accounts, and you just have to wait. And so wait on them, fill in your bank account information. You want to look at the another form here. So there's more information here: history and structure, registration history. This form is actually pretty easy to fill out. If you're in a legal action, and excess working capital. So excess working capital is pretty important, because you have to actually get I think you have to get an audit from an accountant that says that you have at least, I believe for an exempt market dealer, around 70,000 Canadian dollars, which is around, like at this recording, $55 US, sitting in a bank account for working capital. And you have to show that you can keep that working capital. Don't quote me on this, just check with your website to confirm it, because nothing I'm saying here is legal advice. But what you want to do, you want to check to make sure that with all of your activities, all the lawyers that you pay and all the business expenses that you have, that you can actually stay profitable, and you can keep that required capital requirements of about 60K or something like that. So you want to do that as well, right? And then you want to fill in, you want to fill that in. You want to fill in Schedule B as well in the form. And what's about this? Well, it's just saying fill in the form. And it's also saying that you have to have a policies and procedures manual. So this one is another one. Because the policies and procedures manual is a long manual saying how you're going to be compliant, all the processes and procedures that emphasize all the things that you're going to do to be compliant. In other words, making sure that investors don't get sold investments that aren't suitable for them, and that you remain compliant, and you have all kinds of controls to remain compliant. So because a lot of people presumably some people will have huge companies, some people will have small companies, and everything in between. These can be hundreds of pages, like 100 pages, 200 pages, even for small companies. And because I was fortunate enough to see how these look like, it saves a lot of time. And I'm aware of how these things look like, these policies and procedures manuals. And it's really strange because it requires a lot of information, but you just have to follow the process and not complain. So basically the point is to show that you have policies and procedures and you will enact them so that you're compliant, you don't sell investors anything that isn't suitable, or you don't break any laws, basically. And so there's that. There's the incorporation documents, calculation of excess working capital, and then you also have to have a financial institution bond. In other words, insurance. Based on the types of risks that you think you'll be exposed to, you have to get insurance. And error and omission. So there are two types of insurance, really. This one is more for the insurance for the, in case. So this is not errors and omissions insurance. Errors and omissions insurance is the type of insurance that shows that If you say something to an investor and then you omitted something, or you say something to somebody and you omitted something about the investment, then you aren't liable, and then you have a bunch of capital from the insurance that can work against, that can protect you from some lawsuits to some extent, presumably. So that's really that's one of the ideas of errors and omissions insurance. And there's another type of insurance that is required by securities law to say that, if you have an employee that comes against you or something like that, then you have some protection against that, essentially. And so that's required by securities law, at least in Canada. And you have to get Audit financial statements, and so I spoke about this before, and you have to have this to show that you hit the amount of money that you need to have, in order to have a working capital. And then for firms, the Commodity Futures Act, this may not apply to me, whatever. I'll just check that later. So the documents, so this is more commodity stuff. Essentially, find good lawyers, and so find good lawyers to take care of that. And that's essentially it. And the initial registration requirement, so it's actually $50,000, I believe. You pay the registration fees. You submit an application. Decide if you want to register in one or more places. Ontario, it's $1,300. There's a list of fees, and then you go back and forth with the person, and then presumably you get approved. The approval process can take, best case scenario, 3 months. Worst case scenario, forever. Middle case scenario, about 6 months. And so the key is, to hope for the best, work with people that have gotten a lot of companies registered, and you want to look at all this. And so, that's a quick look. And something else that will help too is looking at the categories of registration, but unfortunately, you always see they change their website, so I don't think this will work. And so, it's pretty long, but essentially, as I said, you want to make sure that you're compliant. You want to make sure that you follow the rules, and you always want to check with some people that you trust with, and check with people that you trust, some legal counsel as well, because you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way. But with all this, the goal is, when you register, to work with people who you trust, and then partner with American broker-dealers using something called and this is really special, talk to some lawyers, but use something called chaperone broker-dealers and discuss with legal counsel on that. Build relationships with American investment banks, and essentially get companies, consult them up so that they're at the point where they're ready to issue new securities, and then actually issue the securities and sell it, or and it doesn't have to be one or the other. Work with dealing representatives that basically need a home for passing deals through a firm, bring them on, and then register them up if they're able to register them up, and then have their business underneath yours, while you take some probably like 15% of all the fees, or 25% of all the fees, while they keep 75%. Well, you don't really do that much except keep it compliant. So that's pretty much it, and I hope that this sheds some light into how people register. It's not something you do overnight, and if you don't have the experience, just partner with somebody who does. But if you want to control the entire thing, then best to do it the long way, as I did. But with this, I thank you for watching this video. I'll see you on the other side, and thank you for watching our journey about where we're going in the whole process, as it's a long and lengthy process. Meanwhile, we're working with different firms and so on to make sure people compliantly get to where they need to go as well. And so thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.